No, you're right, Judge, and it's high time the Iranians made clear that they're not going to fool around with two openly declared Zionists. I'm remembering before one set of talks with Kushner and Witkoff. Actually, they stopped to get instructions from Netanyahu on their way to wherever it was, Geneva or Islamabad. I mean, they stopped there ostentatiously to talk to Netanyahu. There are many other signs of this. Actually, didn't Netanyahu this week say, look, no, not he, but some high official, we're waiting for permission from the United States to proceed either in Lebanon or wherever.
Yes,
for
that was Katz,
Rich.
Yeah, so it's very clear. If Americans could only know this, it's being suppressed, tamped down in the mainstream press. But, I've said before, it's the old campaign slogan, it's the economy, stupid. Well, it's not only the economy, it's Israel, stupid. And never has it been clearer. And Joe Kent's interview with you, Judge, that was perfect. That was just you asked the right questions. He gave the correct, the accurate answers. And who knows better than a person at his level how this all goes down? And he says it's Israel, stupid.
Yeah.
Ray's blunt label, Netanyahu's puppets, is repeated for emphasis, stripping away diplomatic politeness and directly accusing U.S. envoys of operating under Israeli direction. The recollection of Kushner and Witkoff making an ostentatious stop for instructions from Netanyahu before previous talks paints a picture of overt subordination. Ray's flip of the famous campaign slogan, "It's the economy, stupid," well, it's not only the economy, it's Israel, stupid, crystallizes the guest's core thesis. Israeli priorities are the hidden driver of U.S. policy, a reality they claim is being suppressed, tamped down in the mainstream press. Joe Kent's interview is praised as perfect because he, as a former insider, confirmed that most American officials in private recognize that this is Israel's war. Together, these exchanges build a compelling case that American decision-making is not sovereign but heavily influenced, with mainstream media complicit in keeping the public in the dark. Takeaway: when foreign allies openly dictate U.S. moves and the press suppresses the story, American interests are no longer in the driver's seat. What if your closest ally is actually calling the shots?
Yes, before we get to Kent, Chris has the clip of Israel Katz saying what Larry just said. He said, Chris.
Israel is prepared for the renewal of war against Iran. The IDF is ready both defensively and offensively, and the targets have been marked. They are waiting for a green light from the United States first and foremost in order to complete the elimination of the Khamenei dynasty, the initiator of the annihilation plan against Israel, and the successors of the Iranian terror regime's leadership. In addition, the goal is to return Iran to the age of darkness and stone by blowing up the main energy and electricity facilities and crushing the national economic infrastructure. The terror regime in Iran specializes mainly in the internal suppression of the population through the Revolutionary Guards and the Basij, as well as in energy blackmail by threatening to inflame global oil prices. It is down for the count. Its leaders are hiding in tunnels and are struggling to communicate and make decisions. Its skies are wide open, and all its national infrastructure and strategic facilities are exposed to attacks. Yet it declares that it is winning, because just like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, it does not care about the heavy price paid by the population. The main thing is personal survival, which is not guaranteed either. When the attack resumes this time, it will be different and deadly and will deliver devastating blows to the most sensitive places. This will be in addition to the massive blows that the Iranian terror regime has already suffered so far, which will shake and collapse its...
Well, in fact, he's part of the reason that Trump is saying some of the incredibly stupid stuff he's saying. Apart from Trump's obvious mental issues and the clear signs of early dementia or frontal lobe dementia. Nonetheless, when Trump came out and claimed that the Iranian leadership was divided and they don't know who's in charge, That's an Israeli lie. That came straight from Israel. I guarantee it. It was provided as liaison intelligence. So the CIA is passing it on as according to reliable intelligence from a liaison service. This is what the state of the state is. And when, in fact, it's just the opposite, that the Ayatollah Khamenei, he was a member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps when he was 17 and 18. He fought against Iraq. The same for the head, Khalifa, is that his name? The head of the legislature. And he's been seen as the sort of the lead negotiator with the United States. And he too fought with the IRGC. He too fought against the Iraq War. And then you've got the current head of the IRGC. These three guys are all about the same age. They're cohorts. And you know from guys that have fought in the same war, and in particular, if they fought together, that creates enormous bonds that last a lifetime, sometimes closer than family. So this lie that Israel is pushing, that, oh, the Iranians don't mean what they say because they're divided. Absolutely not. There's not a shred of evidence to support that. And yet Donald Trump is being told that, and Donald Trump believes that. So this is a case where it's not just Donald Trump confabulating something. He's actually repeating what he's being told.
Katz's extreme language, elimination of the Khomeini dynasty, crushing the national economic infrastructure, devastating blows to the most sensitive places, and return Iran to the age of darkness, reveals Israel's maximalist war aims in raw form. The guests immediately counter by calling the narrative of Iranian leadership being vastly divided, and don't know who's in charge, an Israeli lie fed through liaison intelligence that Trump then repeats. They provide concrete counter-evidence. All three key Iranian figures fought against Iraq in the same war as young men, creating enormous bonds that last a lifetime, sometimes closer than family. This detailed rebuttal dismantles the Israeli talking point and explains why Trump's public claims appear so disconnected from reality. He is echoing unverified foreign intel rather than independent U.S. assessment. The segment underscores how foreign propaganda can shape presidential rhetoric when domestic checks are weak. Takeaway: battle-tested unity and shared history beat wishful division narratives every time, ignoring that reality leads to catastrophic miscalculation. Follow World Talk Recap for more unfiltered recaps and analysis. Hit follow now. Can three old soldiers really be divided after fighting together?
No, the Israelis know which end is up. The thing that troubles me most is they look at this as an existential situation right now. Things are not going their way despite all their protestations to the contrary. I foresee there will be a false flag attack, perhaps on one of our carriers or one of the ships accompanying our carriers, blamed on Iran. We'll have to know whether the U.S. Navy will participate in a cover-up, because the U.S. Navy will know which direction this missile comes from. My prediction is it will come from Israel or one of Israel's places there. And, this will put Trump in the position to say, oh, my God, I believe the Israelis. All Americans should believe the Israelis. Now we've got to obliterate them, really. And now we've got to use even more serious weapons. And those serious weapons that haven't been used yet, of course, are nuclear weapons.
The Iranians have it shut down. They dramatically increased the mining last week. And despite Trump's claims that there are U.S. minesweepers in their clearing, that's not true. That's a lie. That's false. The U.S. so-called blockade is hundreds of miles away from the Strait of Hormuz. And despite the claims by Hegseth and Kane that we've got it locked down, they don't. Independent sources confirmed, like yesterday, day before yesterday, 34 different Iranian ships came out and got past the blockade. So roughly, the United States, it doesn't have enough ships out there to actually run an effective blockade with the distance that needs to be covered. So basically, they can probably stop about 10% of what's going out. And at this point, with the ceasefire in place, Iran's showing no sign of attacking right now. Yeah, they're gonna retaliate eventually for that, but it also creates some additional issues for the U.S. Navy. Again, they're understaffed, undermanned, undershipped, and so when they start detaining these ships, somebody's got to watch them. So then all of a sudden you have to start peeling off assets. So it's just a foolish policy on the part of the United States, counterproductive.
Reports, I believe, with the Washington Post that the Pentagon had briefed Congress that it could take up to 6 months to fully sweep the Strait of Hormuz for mines.
We would not speculate on a timeline. I saw that report. It was based on, again, another leak from a closed-door session, which was supposed to be classified, and apparently, allegedly, that was something that was said about we feel confident in our ability in the correct period of time to clear any mines that we identify, and would encourage other countries to be a part of such an effort as well. But we're tracking that very closely. Mr. Chairman,
I don't think there's just one category of mine, but I know that there's proximity. Yeah, again, this is beyond my expertise, but I know there's both proximity mines, but there's some that can also they can be operated remotely. The point is that this destroyed Iranian Navy that doesn't exist last week, before Trump made the claim that minesweepers are out there sweeping mines, the Iranians were out sowing mines in great quantities. Normally they'd put them out, they would mark them, so they would remember where we put one. They're not doing that, man. They're dumping them. So the Navy that doesn't exist was out there dumping mines throughout the main lines that used to be used by tankers. So now they're required to go close through lanes that Iran strictly controls.
Larry's on-the-ground assessment directly contradicts Trump's boasts. The Iranians have shut down the strait, dramatically increased the mining, and are dumping sophisticated proximity and remotely operated mines throughout the main lines without marking them. The U.S. blockade is admitted to be hundreds of miles away and only capable of stopping about 10% of traffic, while 34 Iranian ships recently sailed past it. The leaked Pentagon briefing to the Gang of Eight, 6 months to clear mines, triggers Hegseth's public fury, which the guests interpret as evidence of internal disagreement between what the intelligence is saying and within the policy community. Ray's chilling prediction of a false flag attack on a U.S. carrier blamed on Iran, with the Navy knowing the missile's true origin, ties the segment back to existential escalation risks, including potential nuclear use by Netanyahu if the false flag fails. This part exposes the dangerous gap between political spin and military reality. Takeaway: mines, leaks, and false flag warnings reveal the perilous distance between official claims and battlefield facts. Never accept timelines or victories at face value in wartime. What if the next attack isn't what it seems?
Chris?
Breaking news coming live from Washington, D.C. A story that the headlines barely let you see. Sit down, pay attention. Let me break it all down. Something went down this weekend in that big White House in town. We're not here to judge. We're just reporting what was said by a former CIA analyst. So listen to what he spread. Because when nuclear codes and generals make the news, everybody needs to know. Everybody's got to choose. Trump panics, generals hide the code. Somewhere in the situation room, tension overflows. Hear the panic in the White House is giving them the upper hand. Here, back and forth, the statements went one day peace, next day war. Nobody quite knew what the policy was anymore. And the report came out of London from the Mirror's page. The general told the president to step back from the stage. Now we cannot verify it, it's one analyst claim, but given all the context, nothing's quite the same. Generals hide the code. Somewhere in the situation room, tension overflows. Reports say your general stood up and said, no way. And the whole world stopped and wondered what was going on that day. Trump generals hide the code. Somewhere in the situation room, tension overflows. Reports say your general stood up and said,
Welcome to 2026.
Oh man! Well,
There you go, guys.
one of the consequences of that is we got Trump yesterday to admit that no, we're not going to use nukes, never will.
Yes, that
in
is
fact-
the consequence.
In
of
fact,
that.
I was talking with Ed DeMarsh of Trends Journal, works with Gerald Celente. They called the White House to see if they would confirm this, and they said this is the first time they've ever really the White House would come back and say no, that's wrong. In the past, the White House would just ignore them. So obviously the story had an effect, but beyond, I was reporting on what someone that I trust told me,
Right.
But then Robert Barnes, subsequently, he got additional confirmation from other sources. Now, I think what really happened there was because the General Kane is not, he's not in the chain of command for authorizing the use of a nuclear weapon. He's there to advise the president. But Trump was musing about using a nuke. Could they consider that? And Kane came back and said, no, you don't use that. So, because Kane doesn't control the nuclear codes either. The chain of command on that, it goes President, Secretary of Defense, and then Stratcom. And but Kane was very direct that no, that shouldn't even be on the table. And the good news is Trump said it in public yesterday. Now, whether he'll remember today what he said yesterday, that's a whole nother matter.
Wow.
The nuclear code story, originating from trusted sources, amplified by Robert Barnes, and prompting an unusual White House denial, is described as causing real panic and generals hiding the codes in the Situation Room. Larry confirms additional corroboration and notes that even General Kane, not in the direct chain, firmly told Trump no to nuclear options. The unpublicized rescue mission details, no names, no hospital visits, no presidential photo ops, fuel skepticism that it may have been a fig leaf to cover for the failed mission. Aircraft losses of almost $500 million in one day, combined with Iran's upgraded air defenses thanks to China, show the war is not going as planned. Trump's Truth Social video on Russiagate, ignored by both mainstream and alternative media, reveals his lingering personal grudge. Ray's final warning, precedent shows Trump will follow Israel full force, even without a green light, leaves the episode on a note of unresolved danger heading into the weekend. Takeaway: when generals hide nuclear codes, rescues stay secret, and grudges dominate policy, public trust collapses and escalation becomes almost inevitable. If Trump follows Israel no matter what, who really decides America's wars? Final overall takeaway: across every segment, the episode systematically dismantles official narratives. U.S. policy is driven by Israeli pressure, Iranian resilience is consistently underestimated, domestic leadership is strained by leaks, temper, and truth suppression, and the philosophical warning that freedom's greatest hour of danger is now feels urgently real. Viewers are left with a clear picture of how undeclared wars and hidden foreign influence threaten both peace abroad and liberty at home. Follow World Talk Recap for more unfiltered recaps and analysis. Hit follow now.